I want to invite Nate Edwards to kick off our next session here, Amplifying Your Campus Connections in 2021. This is going to be a great session, and I know we're kind of running behind, but Nate, I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll have to drop some of the videos that Nate and his team at BYU have made about how they use PhotoShelter and how to do the real-time workflow and things like that. And I'm sure, Nate, you'll be talking about that. So without any further ado, Nate Edwards from BYU, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for letting me be here today. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. All right, guys, I am excited to be here. Talk about collaboration, some of the things we've been doing on campus here. But before I do that, when people present, I like to get to know a little bit about them personally. So a couple things. One, a little known fact about me is I can actually mold my muscles. So it's not the way that it used to be when I was a lot younger and stronger, but I can still do it a little bit. A couple things that I love to do. I love music. I love playing music. I love live music. I love going rock climbing. I love spending time with my family, my nieces and nephews. I love camping. I love taking my Jeep out, and I love traveling. But most of all, I absolutely love spending time with my beautiful wife. Like, she is my #1 fan, and absolutely love her. So with that, I started at BYU in the fall of 2016, and you guys, I have seriously loved every minute of it. It has been such an amazing place to work. I work in university communications, and I'm the photography manager there, and I work with amazing people and have some unreal experiences here. So this is a photo of our team here at BYU Photo. So there's 2 of us full-time staff photographers in the middle there. And then we sometimes have up to 9 students that work for us, and they are unbelievable. We literally could not do the work that we do without our students. They produce amazing work, and sometimes we're both out of town, traveling for work, or out of the country, whatever it is, and our students literally run our office by themselves. I mean, they're unreal. So a little background on what we do here at BYU Photo. University photographers, I've heard, have been referred to as kind of the Swiss Army knife of photographers. Mainly, I think, because of just the different skill sets we need to have. And so we shoot a lot of different stuff. I don't feel like I do any one thing great and amazing, but I feel like I do a lot of things relatively okay. So we cover everything official for the university here: news releases, social media. We service different departments on campus, but most importantly, we have the commission to tell the BYU story. And the nice thing is we kind of have the freedom to do that however we feel is best. On top of all that, we cover about 20 different athletic teams here on campus, and we're constantly collaborating with different groups, whether it's athletics, whether it's administration, the different schools or departments. And I feel like the key to successful and productive collaboration is strong relationships. I think that is vital. One of the ways we try to build those strong relationships and collaborate with different members on campus is we make sure to give access to thousands of our photos for the campus community to use for free. They log in with their login credentials for the university with the single sign-on feature that PhotoShelter offers, and we use our brands page, and we've created a stock photo database of literally thousands and thousands of images that they have free access to use for whatever they need. And it has been a huge, sorry, my mouse has gone over here. It's been a huge resource. So one of the things that helps with is my job as a university photographer, I feel like, is to visually create a positive perception of BYU. And so we want to make sure that the best images are being used to promote our brand and identity. The best way for us to do that, I feel like, is to make those images very accessible to the people who need them and when they need them. So I think when the different departments, the athletic teams, the different colleges, when they feel supported by us, they in turn support us in fulfilling our mission as university photographers. So another part of our mission here and our job is to be a visual historian and a storyteller. I want to be able to tell the story of BYU and capture that history while we do it. So this has been interesting. Once the pandemic hit, our focus as a department, it didn't really shift too much, but how we approached it did. So we went out and we started documenting everything that was happening on campus. I mean, if you guys remember, when things started going down, we had, I don't know, nobody knew the scope of what was going to happen. We had no idea how long it would last. We didn't know how big it would become. But we had a feeling here that, hey, we need to document this. We need to start documenting this history. And we collaborated and coordinated with different groups on campus to document what was happening and what was happening in the world, but kind of particularly how it affected our campus and our campus community. And so, you know, for example, we're working with administration, we're documenting them kind of behind the scenes, trying to figure out like, hey, this is coming, like everything's shutting down, like what's going on? You know, students getting the announcements on their phones of, you know, the rest of the semester being canceled and they'll finish at home. Now, teachers who have never used Zoom before being instructed on how to use it, students learning at home, teachers getting really creative in the way that they, you know, did their Zoom classes at home. You know, they're doing it and they have to work with the space they have. And this is a photo of like all the desks and tables and chairs. Well, not all of them. This is just a small portion. You know, when we were trying to make room for a hybrid semester and, you know, making room for socially distanced classrooms, you know, air filtration, putting cameras in classrooms so we could do hybrid, putting a signage up about wearing masks, documenting students coming back on campus, wearing masks, sanitizing, you know, different classes at home using Zoom. But this is the part I want to focus on. So part of our collaboration was also with our athletics department. So we were able to work with a lot of the teams on campus to also document their history during the pandemic. And I want to focus here on my experience with the men's basketball team with March Madness. I was super excited to tell this story visually. So before we left and before we went to the tournament, I was working with the basketball's director of operations, and I kind of explained to him what I wanted to do and how I wanted to capture this. And so it was great because I felt like we had a lot of trust already built with the team before the pandemic. And because of that trust, I feel like it enabled me to get access and cooperation that I needed to follow through with what I wanted to do. And my desire was to document the history of the pandemic and how it affected our team, along with I wanted to take the fans places that they couldn't go. I wanted to show people what it was like in the bubble, in bubble life. And so, you know, there was a lot of fans, just like with a lot of other universities, and season ticket holders who couldn't go to the games during the year. And not many people were allowed into the tournament. So I really wanted to take people there along with documenting this history, and a super unique opportunity. And so the story kind of goes in a nutshell. Selection Sunday in the Marriott Center here, we get a 6 seed, and we're either to face Michigan State or UCLA in the first round. The very next morning, we get on the plane, go to the airport, and this was a really interesting experience. We had entire rows to ourselves to make sure that everybody was socially distant. They gave us N95 masks. I think there was a row in between everybody. And so when we were on the plane, you know, the athletes doing homework, sleeping, coaches studying film and kind of getting ready and prepping for the tournament. And then we land in Indianapolis, and it was freezing cold, it was windy, and it was wet. And what made it worse is, I don't know if this was an NCAA rule thing or how this for sure played in, but the people at the airport could not touch our luggage. And so we literally had to unload everything and load it in the buses ourselves. And I think because, I don't know if it was the just extra precautions with COVID, but they could not touch our luggage. So we loaded it in the buses. And man, I don't know how many of you have traveled with teams when you have a police escort, but I love it. I think it's awesome. So there's probably like 5 police cars flying around you, driving ahead, blocking intersections. So you literally drive from point A to point B without stopping. And it's a lot of fun. So we get to the hotel, same thing. We are not allowed, or nobody else is allowed to touch our luggage. So support staff, all of that stuff, coaches, players, everybody, we have to unload and load and haul all the gear up to our floor or up to an area, and then almost immediately going for COVID testing. Now the players were already testing pretty much every day for a week leading up to the tournament, and obviously before that as well. And but while we were there, everybody needed to get tested every day while we were at the tournament. And then after our initial COVID testing, we were sent straight up to our floor. Our team had a whole floor, and we could not leave that floor. We were quarantined for 24 hours, for about 24 hours, which was, and it was an interesting experience. So yeah, we had food delivered to our door that we would eat. And what did they do with their time? So, you know, a lot of the athletes still have classes. So they're doing online Zoom classes. We're watching film in the hallway. We're eating more soggy food in our room. And they're doing workouts in the hallway, stretching, exercising. So finally, we're able to leave our floor and go to practice for quarantine, or from quarantine. But we didn't leave before everybody had a tracking device given to them. It didn't necessarily track your location, but it was for contact tracing. So everybody had to keep this on your body while we were out there, just so in case somebody had COVID, they would know who you were around and for how long. So everybody wore those. A lot of times players would just wear them in their sock, and these were even worn during the game. So then our week pretty much looked like this. I mean, this is not a luxurious trip by any means, like in probably in years past. So we'd go to practice, we'd watch film, we'd eat, we'd go back to our room, we'd go to practice, we'd watch film, we would eat, and we'd go back to our room. So you guys get the point. Like, this was enough to make a sane person go a little bit crazy. Like for a week, it was that. And the other thing was, all of the hotels were connected to the convention center via a sky bridge where we did the practices. So other than getting off the bus and going into the hotel, we were not allowed outside. Like, we could not go anywhere. It was a very long week. But at one point, we were able to go outside for a little breath of fresh air and take our photo next to the big bracket that was plastered on the hotel there. And yeah, it was a really long week. And here is kind of a behind the scenes look of what some of our team did to pass the time during that week. So our coaching staff brought NBA Jam arcade game that was put out in the hallway, you know, chess matches, guitar lessons, Zoom interviews, TV interviews, and this was really fascinating. Everything like TV interviews, this was all done digitally. There were no in-person interviews. And so if you look kind of at the left of this image, you'll see a monitor there, and that girl was in New York doing this interview. So very, very little interaction with anybody. So then finally, we get to go out of the hotel to practice for one of the days. And again, police escort, a lot of fun, just driving straight there, running through red lights. And we got to go to the Hinkle Field House. because this is where we were gonna play our first game, and this place was awesome. Um, it was such a great experience, and to be able to get out of the hotel, man, I think it just felt good to have a little change of environment. You know, everybody was kind of excited, and then finally, after a while, it was game day, and we're playing UCLA after a really long week stuck in the hotel. So we pull up to Hinkle Field House. Great to see fans waiting outside. You know, you feeling the butterflies of the pregame. Coach gives his great pregame speech. The team's getting ready to take the court. Fans are cheering, you know, the ones that were allowed in there. And the team was pumped. We were ready. And there was a lot of excitement there because we weren't able to play in the tournament last year because, you know, COVID hit. The tournament was canceled. And so we're really excited to get in the game. The game starts, and as many of you probably know, we just could not get going. It was not going well. And I'm obviously not going to focus much here on the actual game because obviously we lost. And we lost, but I try to take comfort in the fact that we lost to a team that went to the Final Four. And so that's where I take comfort, at least in that, or try to. So what do? Well, we left the game, we packed, we slept for probably 4 hours, got on a plane early the next morning, and went home. And it was rough. Like, man, this was a really rough experience. I felt like, as a team photographer, I felt like I had lost the game with them. It was hard on me. But even though it was hard, and even though we lost, I rejoice because this was such a unique experience and such an awesome opportunity to tell this story visually and to document the history of this. This is something that hopefully and probably never happens again with regards to a global pandemic. And it's an assignment I'm really proud of. Being able to document this experience in such an intimate way, I'll say this, it could not have happened without strong relationships. The strong relationship that we built and try to continue to build with our athletic department, the coaching staff, the student athletes. And again, collaboration best happens when there is a feeling of trust and respect. It is all about relationships. I can't stress that enough. And because of the relationships we've built over the years, there's so many times where people are bending over backwards to make sure that BYU Photo is able to go to their events, their trips, their traveling, their games, and a lot more. They know, I feel like they know that we're there to help them and to tell their story, and in turn, they make our jobs so much easier. Again, I'll say this one last time. Collaboration best happens when there's a feeling of trust and respect, and it's all about relationships. So thank you guys very much. There's some of our contact information, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks again for letting me be here.
Thanks so much, Nate. That was incredible. I loved it. I wrote down a lot of notes. It's such a great message at the end there in terms of the trust and respect. And I want to definitely thank you. And I want to invite Randy Bowler up to turn her screen on and join us on the stage. And Nate, I hope you're sticking around. I know you may have to jump, but if you're able to stick around, that'd be great. If not, we totally understand. And thank you so much. That was really, really insightful.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, and I want to welcome Randy to the stage. Randy Bowler is a marketing and communication specialist at Savannah State University. And we are so excited that you're here, Randy, and I will hand it over to you. Great, you've sharing your screen and ready to go.
Yeah.
Take it away, Randy.
Yes, so I'm really grateful to be here. I'm going to try to keep it brief because I know we're already running behind. But yes, so my name is Randy. A little bit about me. I kind of skipped the title page and just went straight to getting to know me so we can get into this collaboration piece. But I am originally from Lithonia, Georgia. A lot of people don't know where that is, so I typically lie and say I'm from Atlanta. It's close enough. But I attended college, undergraduate, and I'm still getting my master's at Coppin State University in Baltimore, Maryland. I was a student athlete there. I also was a sports information intern, and I kind of thought that was going to be the direction of my career. I wanted to be a sports commentator. I worked a lot with the Washington Mystics, with ESPN. So I was very grateful to have those opportunities. And I thought that I was going to be in athletics, especially since after I graduated with my undergraduate degree, I was a director of athletic communications at Trinity Washington University in DC. And then there were just a turn of events, and life just has a way of showing you that maybe what's best for you may not be in your plans. So I ended up at Savannah State University and just in higher education, marketing, and communications. And so I am here, and I got here in November. So I haven't even been here a year yet, but it has been an amazing experience, an amazing journey so far. And my title is the Marketing and Communication Specialist. And here's my team. So Savannah State is a small university. It's a small HBCU located in Savannah, Georgia. And we are the oldest public HBCU in the state of Georgia. So I love to say that our team is small, but we're mighty. We get a lot done with 3 people. And my title specifically is I'm responsible for social media, which is an amalgam of many skills, as a lot of you know, photography, writing, script writing I also do, and then I also do a lot of digital media graphics and things for our internal and external clients to market and promote certain departments, along with a lot of other things that I'm probably forgetting about, but those are my main responsibilities, social media being the top priority in the things I do. And then yes, so this is my team. We have a director of communications and then a VP of marketing and communications. So the biggest thing in collaboration has just been the biggest piece of all of our times being successful here at Savannah State, because my department is just a fairly new department. The longest person who's been here is our VP, and she's only been here, I think it might be getting close to 2 years. So we've been really focused on rebuilding our image, Savannah State's image, and kind of really rebuilding our social media and our external media and relationships with the news and all of those things. So the 3 things that I'll say would be like the biggest in collaboration and making sure we're collaborating and, you know, just getting the best out of us and in turn the best out of our university is having a shared vision. And I think our vision that kind of brings us all together, not just as a department, but as a university, is that we all know that our purpose is to serve our students. So we want to enhance their experience here at SSU, and we want to continue to increase enrollment. And so the overarching goal is just making sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that their experience here is wonderful. So that's number 1. This is a shot of our marching band that we didn't really get to see much of because of the pandemic, which I'll get more into. But yeah, student success and their experience is our top priority. And I think knowing that and having that shared vision is kind of first in, you know, collaborating and making sure that we're successful in everything that we do. And then, of course, along with enhancing their experience, we want to make sure that we are graduating successful global leaders. So the vision, I think I spoke a little bit about, that was kind of like our overarching vision for just our university period. But since my time being here, we really were trying to focus on, you know, storytelling, and our main focus was really trying to promote the HBCU experience and still promote our university and everything that includes our academic programs, student life in the midst of a pandemic. So when I got here, we were still in November of 2020, still in a phase of just uncertainty and not knowing what was going to happen. Homecoming had already passed, which typically always happens in October. It was virtual. You know, students were required to wear masks and still are if they're not vaccinated. But that was our biggest priority, was kind of showing on social media, using social media to show how we are protecting our students, protecting each other, but then also informing people of the things of why these things are important. So why mask wearing is, you know, efficient and the best thing to do during this time. So we had to post a lot of pictures of our students in masks and just make sure that everyone was protecting themselves. But then another big priority of ours was just showing through our photos and on social media, being able to somehow restore, I guess, confidence in community, restore confidence in our university, restore just confidence in the fact that everything is going to be okay. You know, if we work together, if we, you know, follow these protocols, and if we just keep the faith, you know. So that was a big thing. So we relied heavy on photography of our staff, faculty, and students, you know, communicating with each other in mask and still being able to have some piece of normalcy, even though we were in like this big state of just limbo. So a lot of that included having a lot of events that were outside. And it didn't just obviously hit our students hard, it also affected our faculty and staff. And so birthdays that we would typically celebrate just internally and be with each other, we had drive-bys with balloons and cards and stuff. So that was really exciting. It was just really important for us to make sure we were capturing all of these things. And some of these photographs I took, but we also would, because we have such a small team, we would pull photos from just anyone on our campus and a part of the university community that would take photos. So this is our softball field in the stadium there, and we just wanted to make sure we were also, while we were trying to restore faith, we wanted to make sure that we maintained authenticity and we captured, you know, the sadness that we couldn't ignore. So we didn't have sports. So as you could see, the tape, you know, blocking off the stands because no one was allowed to be in this area. And so another reason that I didn't mention earlier, I mean, social media is obviously, you know, just kind of king or queen of the digital age right now, but I think it was even more significant during the pandemic because especially for Savannah State, because a lot of students were not able to get to our university. So our social media kind of was the only way that they were able to connect with our university. So wanted to make sure that while we were communicating the very real things that were happening in at our university, in our just environment, we also wanted to show students that we're still, you know, we're still maintaining and encouraging, and we still have student success and student academic excellence happening on this campus. So we were still making it a priority to capture the research and the different projects that students were involved in on campus. We were making sure that we capture that to show students that we still have things going on in the midst of the pandemic. And then another thing that we wanted to prioritize during this time, I think the pandemic was happening, and then there was a lot of things, a lot of social issues going on. And we wanted to take advantage of that because I think during this pandemic, I love to say that HBCUs were really having a moment. They were really spotlighted during this pandemic because while we had the pandemic happening, there are a lot of great things happening as well. Our VP, our Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, is an alum of a HBCU, Howard. And then we also have the first senator, the first African American senator in the state of Georgia, Raphael Warnock. He is an alum of Morehouse. And so we wanted to take advantage of the great things that were happening and use it as an opportunity to inform our audience through social media about the unique experiences that you have at HBCUs and how great HBCUs are. And there are a lot of other great things that I just didn't mention, but yeah, so we wanted to use that opportunity, and we took a lot of photos of our students on Wednesdays, because Wednesdays here on our campus is Dress for Success Day, and it's a tradition that transcends across HBCUs. So on Wednesdays, our students dress up for success, and they dress like they're going to interviews. A lot of them just take it to the next level, which is great. We love to see it, and so we loved capturing those things, and it, while informing people about some of those traditions at HBCUs, it just brought a lot of joy and happiness to our timeline and created a lot of engagement as well. And we also just wanted to remind people, a big priority of ours during this time was just to remind people of the beauty that is our campus. So we are located in Savannah, so we're less than 20 minutes from the beach. Our campus is actually on the water, so we have a lot of unique academic programs here that specifically our marine biology program. So they have access to the water. We have 2 docks on our campus and 2 boats where students actually get to go out on the boats and do research on marine life and all those sorts of things. So these pictures are some that we took and posted on our social media just to remind people of just how beautiful our campus is, and to kind of encourage appreciation and gratification of the beauty that we have around us, but then also obviously to promote our campus and just show students who are thinking about coming to SSU and the beauty and just how close our campus is to the water and all of those things. So that was really important for us. This is a photo of one of our docks at close to our Marine Sciences Center. So this is an aerial view of that. I love that shot. And then also, like I said, we're close to the beach. And I think that is, I know if I was in undergrad and social media was as prevalent as it is now, I definitely would have come to Savannah State because I love the beach. And students here, literally every weekend they go to the beach. This is a smaller beach called Butterbean, but we're really close to Tybee Island as well. So before I go to the next one, I want to talk about a specific project we had since I've been here that was it required a lot of collaboration just across campus, not just within our department, was our commencement ceremony that happened this spring. It was huge for a number of reasons. You know, commencement is just a milestone, and it's always going to be huge and very important. But I think this one was super special because it felt like it was a step in like towards normalcy, and we kind of felt like we were moving, you know, towards a time where we could all be around each other. And then we had a special speaker who is the U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. So this is just me and a team member on the sidelines during commencement, and we had 3 different ceremonies. And because it was so special, and we felt like these graduates, the 2021 graduates, just went through so much, you know, with the pandemic, and being able to experience, you know, the full HBCU experience and just the collegiate experience in those first years, and then getting that kind of taken away, but still pushing through and receiving and earning their degrees. We felt like we just wanted to capture every emotion that we could during these ceremonies. So that was a priority for us, and we had photographers there, but I also took a lot of photos because that is also one of my responsibilities, photography. But yeah, so that was just very great to see. And we had our commencement in the Tiger Arena, still socially distanced. So you see the gaps in the chairs, which is important just to show everyone that we are celebrating our students and, you know, still prioritizing their safety. And they were actually taking the alumni oath, which is something that they have to do in commencement, and it's kind of like a rite of passage. They're moving into the Alumni Association. Here's a very neat shot of Raphael Warnock, who spoke at two of our commencement ceremonies. We had 3. And he was also, he's from Savannah, and so that was also a part of that like special piece. And he's from Savannah, and he also attended Savannah State for the Upward Bound program. And here's just a quick look at our social media, how our Instagram looked from commencement. We had just several shots, and what my favorite part about it was that we were able to upload stuff in real time, which I love, and I think is super important. Because people who were not able to be at commencement or weren't able to see the ceremony, they were able to just follow and be updated through our social media constantly while the event was happening. And here are a few of my favorite shots from our social media that capture that moment and those emotions that were happening. Love this. And so we just wanted to, capture those moments, those kind of unforgettable moments that were happening, and be able to share that with our students, our alums, and just everyone on social media. And then another kind of piece that was really cool about that week of commencement was that we not only had 1 senator on campus, we had 2. So we had John Ossoff, Senator Ossoff, on campus as well earlier that week, and he was able to speak with our students at our Marine Science Center about different projects that they're working on to preserve marine life. And one, I think, is an oyster restoration project. So that was neat, and being able to capture that moment was really cool. And so yeah, that was it. And what I'd like to end with is really that collaboration is just really integral. And I think some strategies for collaboration, like I mentioned, I kind of threw those pieces in there, but just having a shared vision, storytelling, and a lot of times storytelling is just, you're not really creating anything, you're just uncovering the beauty or some of those interesting stories that are already there. You're just providing those moments, those experiences with a microphone to be heard. And then lastly, just creativity, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and doing research and having those reports that show you what works and what doesn't. So again, I'm very grateful to be here. I'm glad I got to speak with all of you, and you can connect with me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Breshay Randy, and on LinkedIn by just putting in Randy Bowler.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Randy. And such a beautiful, so many beautiful photos, and clearly such a beautiful campus. And I want to invite, kind of keep the, I think, keep the visual historian trend going here in this session, and invite Sam Wallace, my fellow Western Carolina University Catamount, onto the stage. Thank you so much, Randy. Sam Wallace is the current director of photo and video production at Western Carolina University. Sam, welcome, and take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, Oz. It's awesome to be here. Glad to have a fellow Catamount with me. So yeah, I wanted to do something similar that Nate did, and kind of walk people through an experience that we got to take part in as a communications and marketing team pre-pandemic, though, instead of during the pandemic, which this was just a few months before the pandemic. And so it's pretty crazy to look back on this, and to looking at some of these photos again for the first time in a while. It was a little bit eerie, considering the state of the way the world is right now. So that being said, I'm the manager of our photo and video team for our communications and marketing team at Western Carolina University. And in 2019, our marching band had the privilege of going to New York City for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for the second time. And this was a big step for our team, because for the first time, we kind of decided we wanted to embed our team with the marching band to capture this experience from start to finish, not only during the week of the parade, but the months leading up to it. And so kind of my connection to this is that in 2014, I was a student at Western Carolina University, and I marched with the Pride of the Mountains the first time that we went to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. At that time, I was a junior in college, and the marketing team at Western wasn't really in a position to document this experience the way that I felt it was important that we did in 2019. And it didn't really think much of it at the time, because I was a student. I was living the experience in real time, and it was still one of the most surreal things I've ever done. But the university contracted one photographer out who was there the day of the parade, and that was it. And we have a handful, probably less than 20 photos of the marching band on what is arguably the largest stage that any marching band can be on. And so when it came time to experience this again, our team, against some hesitation from folks, wanted to really invest a ton of resources into capturing this experience this go around. We were very lucky to be invited back to the parade only 5 years after the first time, so we wanted to take advantage of that. So we wanted to do a few things. First of all, we wanted to tell the story of the Pride of the Mountains. The Pride of the Mountains is a nationally known marching band, usually with over 500 members, and it's one of the largest recruiting tools that the university has. And so we just wanted to tell their story. We also wanted to bring brand awareness, obviously, to the university, but to the band as well. This is an opportunity for a mid-sized university to put their brand in front of 22 million TV viewers on Thanksgiving Day, and 3.5 million people just in the city watching the parade. And so that's a lot of people to kind of take in what the Pride of the Mountains is and the university that it's associated with. And then the last thing we wanted to do was just robustly capture the experience from start to finish. The students were not there just for the parade. They were there for an entire week, getting to do all the touristy things in New York City. This was the first time a lot of these students had ever traveled to New York City, and it was the first time a lot of these students had ever traveled outside the state of North Carolina. And so capturing that experience through their eyes is a really powerful thing. We wanted to make sure we did it well. Again, like Nate and Randy both said, collaboration was everything for this project. I was very lucky to have the connection to the band program that made this a little bit easier. But these are just on the screen. These are just a few of the folks who made this happen, and there are a lot of people who aren't on this screen that this could not have happened without. The three gentlemen on the left are the three band directors at the time, and I was basically attached to their hip for 9 months. And got to know these guys really well. And what Nate said was hit really hard. The trust that had to exist between me and these three guys was probably the most important thing ever. The Pride of the Mountains is their job. It's what they do. And to let a group of people who they don't work with every day come in and tell their story is something that isn't easily given over, right? And so I spent months working with these guys and gaining their trust to the point to where I was calling them and texting them every day, among all the other things we had to do for the university. And then the team on the right is the team that went with the band for the week of the parade. We were really lucky to send 4 people, myself, video producer, a photographer, and then our social media manager. And so there's also another huge team within communications and marketing who were playing major roles, the web team and our designers and the PR team who are doing statewide and local PR pushes. So it took a lot of collaboration, not only with the band and with other folks on campus, but within the team. And then it costs a lot of money to send costs over $1 million to send a marching band this size to New York City for a week. And so working closely with our advancement and fundraising team to help lessen the burden on our students for this experience. So getting into the first thing we wanted to do, which was just document the Pride of the Mountains, starting with band camp that happens in August. I spent almost at least 3 or 4 days out of my work week with the band, just capturing their experience. So everything from band camp, to their game day rehearsals where they're at the stadium at 6 a.m. before on game days before that happens, to spending the entire day with them on their game days. Pride of the Mountains is known for their halftime shows. And so spending that time with them was really important, even though this was all just leading up to Macy's. They go on the road and they travel for high school exhibitions and competitions. And so going out and watching the impact that these college students are having on high school students and how they're using that to help recruit future Pride of the Mountains members. And then probably the most important thing was with 535 members, there are a lot of individual student stories within that organization that are really impactful. And we worked really closely with a couple of the student leaders to help cultivate those stories and to work with those individual students to tell their stories. And so, we were constantly trying to dig out these individual stories that we could tell through social and through web and through video. And then finally, what we were really here for was capturing the trip. The 4 of us rode the buses with the band. We did all of their activities with the band. We stayed in the hotel with them. It took 10 charter buses and 2 tractor trailers to get this band from North Carolina to New York City. And we occupied an entire hotel right outside of the city. And so you can imagine that traveling with a group this size presents a lot of opportunity to capture it, because it's like a Swiss Army knife. These guys are incredibly well prepared, and the students play a huge role in making all of that travel happen. So we also got to spend time with the students during the week leading up to the parade, where they were going out and experiencing New York City, most of them for the first time. So we were dividing our team up and spending time with students who were getting to experience things that they never have gotten to do before. They were living out their New York experience, and we were just there along for the ride. And so there wasn't a whole lot of sleep had this week by our team, because we were producing, editing, and uploading in real time. And we did a lot of video work, and it was get back to the hotel and stay up all night to edit these videos that we were capturing throughout the week. It was important that we gave people an inside look into the experience as it happened, not 3 weeks after the fact. So we spent a lot of time with these students to kind of carve out their individual experiences. And so I'll go ahead and kind of start to wrap things up. But again, the most important part was the actual parade. So a 3 a.m. dress rehearsal in Herald Square for the parade is probably the coolest experience. although it's exhausting, it's probably the coolest experience during the whole week. It's the only time you'll see New York completely silent and empty as 10 buses drive into the city for this 3 a.m. dress rehearsal. And the students have to be prepared at 3 a.m. to put on the exact performance that they're going to do later that morning on television for 22 million people. And so after all of that, it finally comes time for the parade. And for me, this was so important to robustly capture the parade because this is not going to be the last time that this band goes to Macy's, and to have visual collateral that we can use the next time this happens, I think it was really important for me. And so we for the 3.5 miles of the parade, we didn't stop shooting once. And so we came back with this just robust library of images. And at the end of the day, we had millions of or hundreds of thousands of video views. We got a grand gold case award for this project. And we created content that will outlast the 3 months that we did this. But more importantly to me, we gave students something that they can look back on and really have a great visual representation of what that experience was like for them. And it took so much collaboration to do that, both with the students and the staff members that took part in the trip. And so it has set kind of the bar for what we can do as an internal marketing team with zero outside agency help. And while it took a lot of work and there were times where it was like, should we be spending this much time doing something so specific? At the end of the day, I think our efforts were rewarded. So yeah, I appreciate you guys allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Sam. And I want to ask you to stick around 1 second and invite Randy back on stage. I'm going to steal a little time from the next session for this, just one question to throw towards to both of you. And we'll start with Randy, actually. In terms of us moving kind of out of the pandemic and back towards whatever the new normal is, what do you think kind of will stick around? What worked that was different that will continue to that you'll take with you into this next phase?
I think in terms of social media, we were really, during this time, we're really focused on like capturing everything, not missing a moment, and over communicating everything that was happening. And I think that is something that can stick around. Like, it's not a bad thing to over communicate, over promote, and share those things that we thought during the pandemic that since people didn't have access to, or maybe they couldn't come and see stuff in person, we wanted to share it. But it's important to just share those pieces or intimate pieces or things that are integral to whatever your company is or your university anyway. So I think that over communication piece is just something that we'll really keep.
Yeah, I love that. I couldn't agree with you more. It's definitely something we say on our team when we're getting sick of talking about something. That's usually when people are just starting to hear about it. Sam, how about at Western Carolina? What do you think?
Yeah, I think for us, the pandemic has created a lot of opportunities to get out of maybe the nitty gritty things that consume a lot of time for us, and to really spend time telling stories and focusing on the more creative things that we can do. It's more than anything, it's forced us to just be flexible. I think we're all ready to go back to what will hopefully be a more normal fall, so we can capture a normal student experience. But I think it's made us all a little bit more aware of how lucky we are to work at a place that changes so many people's lives. And I think it's allowed us to not take that for granted. And so I think spending more time focusing on our students and how we can tell their stories, instead of getting caught up on all of the little things, I think is probably the most important thing that we've learned.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, actually, just kind of the nitty gritty stuff, just getting rid of it, focusing on the creative stuff. Well, I want to thank both of you and Nate, who had to run to actually the University Photography Association of America's session. He's presenting there as well. So I want to thank all three of you. This was incredible and so insightful. And just thank you so much. I mean, it was great stories, and we really appreciate it. And invite anyone listening to reach out to any of our speakers.